What would a coherent immigration and, for that matter, migrant policy look like from your perspective, can I ask? Because I know these are hot button issues. One of the reasons I imagine your side of the politics is in trouble is that people wanted, as part of the Brexit deal, these issues resolved, and it hasn't happened.
That's right. So the great slogan of Brexit was "Take back control."
Yeah.
And that was about sovereignty and power, but it was really about taking back control of our borders and taking back control of immigration. And we've seen net migration has risen since Brexit. So there were 200,000 people net coming into the country, net of emigration, in 2019, and it's now, last year was over 600,000. Many of those were refugees from Ukraine and Hong Kong. We've admitted a lot of people escaping the Chinese crackdown in Hong Kong, so I'm proud of that. But we've opened the borders to large numbers of students' families, I think rather preposterously. You can come here if your relative is studying. And we have a very low salary threshold for a work visa, lower than the national average, and than the national average wage. So we're importing low-skilled migration, and as a result, we have a lot of people who aren't working in our own country, who could and should be. So I think we need to reform those things, reduce the number of visas we're giving out. The most hot button issue on the migration story in the UK at the moment is illegal migration. We have this chronic problem of small boats crossing from the French side of the English Channel to our shores, and 45,000 last year. The number is falling, and the government is gripping this problem very hard, but we remain having unacceptably high numbers of people crossing over and then able to claim asylum and live here with impunity. And we need to remove people who come here illegally. We have now passed a law that will enable that, but we're entangled in various legal challenges, including the European Court, which, despite Brexit, we're still part of the European Convention on Human Rights, which preceded the EU. So we're subject to a court in Strasbourg, which decides on its own authority to overrule British Parliament, which I think most British people think, hang on, didn't we vote to get out of that kind of arrangement? So I think we do need to get out of that arrangement. But that's a huge political challenge at the moment that the government isn't yet prepared to do. So we need to take some bold steps on all of these topics, but fundamentally, we can't have the rates of migration we have. Over 1 million people arriving here last year, as I say, net 600,000, is absolutely unsustainable. I mean, the population of the UK has grown by 8 million people since the turn of the century, as I say, for a population of...
In a very crowded island.
Well, that's right. I mean, is that indeed? We haven't got the housing, we haven't got the doctors, the school places, we don't have the space, and the impact on cultural cohesion. I'm afraid to say, looking at what's been going on in London in recent weeks in response to the Israel-Palestine conflict, I'm afraid we have, living in our country, very many people who are culturally antipathetic. They're culturally hostile to our country and to its values. And so it's not just a practical question about capacity, it's about our sense of ourselves as a country. And fundamentally, we need to reduce migration for both economic and cultural reasons.